What's going on, guys? Hope you are having a great day out there today. So today what we are working on is trying to improve and make the EXB a little bit better. So, as you guys know, the car's got lots of aluminum upgrades already on it. It's a pretty decent, tough truck overall. I have had some issues recently with drive shafts popping out and miscellaneous weird little problems, but I replaced the front input cups on the differential with new ones, and I had this thing out for a bash the other day, and it held up great. Truck ran great. Didn't have any problems with the drive shafts now. But the one weak spot that this car has had since the day it rolled was the rear differential. Now, mainly, most of that was all due to the limited slip differential that they supplied with the car, and the tolerances were off, and there was just issues with it. Now, this car does now have the version 2, I guess you'd call it, limited slip differential in the back, and I've had this car out for 2 runs now, and I've had 0 issues with the differential. But one thing that I did to my version 4 Kraton 6S over here is I put on the Hot Racing rear differential case. Now, ever since doing that to this car and shimming it, this thing has been an absolute tank. I have had no problems with differentials in this car, and the thing is just a beast. So I decided what I was going to do was I was going to do the same thing to this thing to give it its best chance of rear differential surviving. So I bought a Hot Racing aluminum differential case for the EXB, and we're going to put that on in this video today. So I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm sure most of you guys all know how to do this stuff. If not, I'm just going to go through the basic teardown process real quick and different little pieces. So I'm going to get started on that. First, we're going to tear off, get everything torn off the back here, get the differential removed, and we'll start working on this thing. I'll bring you guys back when we're in the teardown process. All right, guys. Well, like I said, I'm not going to bore everybody with, all the teardown process of this thing. They're pretty easy to tear apart. But what we're going to do is just start removing the different bits and pieces here we need to get off. First, you need to get your center brace torn off, get your shocks disconnected, and get your rear shock support tower off. And then basically, we'll be able to unscrew just the differential from the bottom of this thing, but you got to kind of get all the top stuff pulled off first. So I'm going to get that stuff done, and then I'll bring you guys back. All right, guys, well, I got her down to this point here. Just took a couple minutes, but basically removed the tires. Just makes it kind of easier. I got the rear wing taken off of it, and all the center supports disconnected. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off and pull out the 4 screws out of the bottom of this, and this will remove the whole differential off of the bottom. And then it's kind of easier to work on when it's just a unit like this, when you just get this off. And kind of easier to tear apart at that point. So we're going to go ahead and remove these 4 screws, if my drill will do it. It's slipping a lot. All right, I have to do this by hand, I guess. The clutch isn't tight enough or strong enough for this. It's meant for doing light stuff, so a lot of times when these are cranked in the whole way, it does not like to get them started out. But that's kind of a good thing because it helps not strip the screws out, especially when you're putting them back in. As you can see, this car has seen quite a bit of use. The bottom of the chassis is pretty much polished, flat aluminum. All the blue is pretty much gone off of it. I think it's been a lot of fun. Been glad now. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I don't start running into differential problems on this new one that they sent me. Getting a dirt that's packed in screws out of here. I've seen some guys, talk to some different people out there that have also got the new version differential from Horizon. Some of them have had no issues now. Have had great luck. But a couple guys I've talked to have had them. Now, I don't know what kind of power plant they have in their car, because obviously that's going to be a big deciding factor on how much your differentials hold up, is how much power you're trying to sling at the poor thing. But this one is the stock. This is the stock BLX 185 system in here. I like it. At some point, I might go with the bigger power plant in here. I'm thinking about doing the Max 6 combo with the 1650 kV motor in this and maybe my 6S, the V4, or just one of them. Test it out, see how I like it. But so far, everything's all stock. All right, guys, so now we got this, we can get this thing out of the way. Now we got just the rear differential for here we can work on. So what I'm going to work on next is taking off the front and rear bulkhead hinge pins, retainers, and get those things off of here so I can get the A-arms and all that removed off of here. And I'm going to start working on that, and then I'll bring you guys back once I get those disconnected. There is just 2 screws on either side. The caps pop off, the pins pull off, and then your A-arms are now free from the bulkhead. All right, guys, well, we got the differential pulled out of it. We got what was a new limited slip one out. Everything still feels nice and smooth in there. Definitely no binding, nothing going on. Now on the plastic differential housing here, I did have 1 shim on this. So once I fit it up into the new aluminum one, we'll see if we need that less or more. But basically, all I did was pull out the 2 hinge pins, pull the screws out of your camber links here, come off of there, and then that whole thing will come free. I also did notice just pulling this out, don't know if you can see that, it might be kind of bright, but there's a screw busted off in my bulkhead that held the wing on. So kind of a good thing I'm tearing it apart anyway, because got a screw busted. Didn't even notice it. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and just get this thing off of here and get the spur gear, not spur gear, but the input gear here pulled out of this and transferred over to the new Hot Racing one. They also do give you a full new screw kit and a new bearing. It comes with the kit, so you can change out the bearing whenever you're doing this, which was nice also. So I'm going to go ahead and get the gear pulled out of this thing, and I'll bring you guys back whenever I get switched out. Also, guys, I just figured I'd let you know, as far as getting the cap off the end here, there is just a long grub screw on the one end of it down here. You just pull that grub screw out and it slides off of there, and then your input gear just slides back out from the inside. Easy enough to done. There's 2 bearings. There's the outside and the inside one. You have to pop both of those bearings back out and transfer them over to there. But like I said, they do give you a new one of these bearings, so it's up to you if you just want to keep it around for a spare or swap them out new. All right, guys, well, we are going to go ahead and pull out the bearings out of this. Usually pop up pretty easily. There's the front one. Come out. Oh, fell right out. There we go. But I'm going to clean these up, check them over, make sure they all look okay. These are all sealed bearings in this, so they still feel really good. This one also, I think, is a sealed bearing. You can see, they're putting sealed bearings and everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep the bearings that were in here because they still feel really good. So I'm not going to worry about changing over to the new one. So we're going to go ahead and drop the main bearing back down in there. Oh, no, that's right. I forgot about this. I misspoke, guys. With the new bearing comes, because the bearing is actually bigger. I forgot about this on the last one. They do have the bearing. They put a heavier bearing in this thing, which is also obviously a good thing. But so you do have to change out the bearing because the new bearing is bigger and heavier duty. So there you go, fits in there, because you can see the other one, the stock one, compared to it, there's a bit of a gap there. Might be kind of hard to show up, but you kind of see what's going on. They give you a bigger bearing. So, all right, we got the bearings pressed in there. We can go ahead and drop the input gear back down in there. Everything feels really nice and smooth. No binding, so that all feels pretty nice. So now we got that going. We can go ahead and slide back on the rear one here. I just got to make sure that the grub screw lines up properly. There we go. Get the grub screw back in here, and pretty much just ready to go ahead and do what you already did, tearing it apart and get everything back together. The only thing I'm going to kind of test here is testing out the shimming on this and make sure that it is all nice and snug, that we got no play in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to test fit this rear diff in here and see what it fits like. I'm going to test it without Maybe if I can get this off here. Shims are tight over these diff cups. Maybe. Come on. There we go. All right. See what it feels like in here without any shims. There is a tiny, tiny bit of play. So I think we are going to need one shim in this thing. Probably can't see the play on camera. It's too minute, really. But you can feel it if you pull from side to side. You can kind of feel it, sliding just a tiny bit. Also, while you're at it, check your shimming between your input gear and your differential gear. Make sure you got no major play sliding back and forth. What you're trying to do, obviously, is get that gear as close as you possibly can to the differential without hitting your differential, so that all the gears are touching that spur gear as much as possible. This one is very tight. It is spot on from the factory with this casing, so I'm not going to worry about shimming that at all. Everything feels really good. It's nice and smooth, but I'm going to pull this back out here and throw one of the shims on and see how it feels then. Things are always fun to try and slide on here, especially if the input cup is at all worn. It catches on the little marks that it gets, and it does not want to slide back over very much. This one really isn't marked up at all yet, but it still is not wanting to go in very easily. This is always the fun part, trying to get the shim and the bearing and everything lined up in there. The easiest way I found it is holding it whenever you're trying to slide the differential back in there with a shim on it, is to hold it with the gear so it's automatically wanting to lay flush down on the bearing while you're trying to slide it. Because if you're doing it upright or like this, it's constantly falling away from the groove on the differential housing, and you'll fight with it more and more. So the easiest way is to hold it so it naturally sits down in there and it slides down in there pretty easily. But now we got one shim in there, and it is tight as can be. There is zero play from side to side. So we're going to go with that. We're going to go with the one shim on this now. So I'm going to go ahead and get this button back up together, and I'll bring you guys back when we're getting it back together. On a separate note, when you buy these hot racing differential cases, really nice cases, I like them. But I think it's really cheap of hot racing to not include this rear cover with it. I mean, it's all one piece, guys. But yet they sell this part separately. I mean, you're already paying them $60 for the differential housing, and they don't include the rear cover or the little cover or the little retainer for your sway bar. I just think that that's kind of, they really tried to milk every dollar from people as they possibly could with that whole setup. All right, guys, well, we got the rear cover back on there. Just make sure you take your time and be careful with that so you don't actually smash your shim and stuff like that. Just be slow, gentle about it. Should go back in, pretty easily. I just put a little bit of grease on spur gear here, because honestly it was kind of dry whenever I tore it apart. So, gonna lube it up a little bit, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this mounted back up in the car, and should be ready to rock. But nice, spinning nice and free, very easily. That's how it should turn. There shouldn't be any binding spots or anything like that. It should turn real nice and easy the whole way through. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing mounted back up on here, get the back end re-bolted back together, and I'll bring you back once we get this kind of back together, guys. One thing I do like to do, guys, every time I have any of the rear or any of the A-arms and stuff like that torn off, is to basically make sure you pull these pins out, clean them up, and hit them with some grease just so that they're sliding and moving around easier, because sometimes they do start to get pretty bound up in there pretty bad, and it requires a good amount of work to get them in and out. So it's good to pull those out, clean them, and you make sure they're free and moving nice and easy. All right, guys, well, we got her all back in there again. Really easy to do. These things are nice and easy to change. That's one thing I love about the Arrma cars. They're so easy to work on and stuff to change out. But got the hot racing differential case in the EXB now. Hopefully this will add up to the life of this thing, and won't have as many issues with. What this is a benefit for, if you don't know, is it keeps the flex, because the plastic gear cases can flex and twist on hard and heavy landings. And what this does, and when that happens, when you get the flex in the differential case, you automatically lose that tolerance between the gears, and that's when you start stripping the gears and having problems, because the case twists and flexes, and the tooth jumps a gear, strips it off, and then you're on your way to having to replace out all your gears and stuff. So this is just kind of a preventative maintenance type of thing where hopefully saves your gears in the long run. Able to work now, and you know, can solve a lot of frustration later on down the road, and not having those shortened bash days. But that's it. That's all there is to it, guys. Easy enough to do. I'm going to go ahead and finish getting this thing bolted up on the car. But also, I ordered this whenever I got this hot racing differential case. Sorry, I know the light's kind of bright. It's getting blinded out. But at any rate, this is a stock Arrma diff case for the V4 Kraton. What I'm going to do in the long run, if this limited slip differential does not hold up and I start having issues with it again, I already have all the spider gears and everything else for the V4. I have that kit also. And what I'm going to do is basically build a V4 differential for this thing, but with the spiral cut differential and input gears from the EXB. So it'll be kind of the best of both worlds. But I was just going to do this and put it on automatically and just call it a day, but I figured I'm going to leave the limited slip in here and see how she continues to hold up and if it gives me any problems, and let you guys know along the way too. So this is just on standby if and when the limited slip fails again. But all right, well, enough yakking. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing back in the car and we'll get this thing finished up. All right, guys, well, we're just getting the center braces mounted back up. Also with the kit, Hot Racing does supply a full set of screws for pretty much everything. There's a lot of stuff in there you don't actually need or need to change out. But there is a couple ones that they use for shorter screws in a couple places. But for the most part, you just use all the same screws that you took out. I did have to change the one that they gave me with the kit to replace a screw on the rear wing that was busted. But also, guys, if you want the part number for this, the part number is AON12E01. It's aluminum gearbox case bulkhead Arrma Kraton outcast. So that'd be the kit you want to get if you want to do this to the V4, the V5, the EXB, the outcast, all of them. All of them take same gearbox, front and rear. So you can order a couple of them and do the front and the back if you want to do both at the same time. But they're easy enough to change out. But I'm just going to throw the last few things on it, and we'll come back and get this thing finished up. All right, guys. Well, she is all finished up, and the EXB is ready for action again. Got the Hot Racing differential case in there, so hopefully this thing helps it out a little bit, keeps that differential from twisting around in there, and strengthens it up a little bit. Hopefully I'm not having to pull the rear diff out of this thing anytime soon. Fingers crossed, of course. But other than that, guys, the car's pretty much ready to roll again. Like I said, I've had it out the last couple times, and she's been working out great. The differential's been working good. Haven't had any noise or anything coming from it, so far so good. But I think that's all I really need to do with it at this point. Everything else has been good. No dry shafts popping out. Everything else has been working nice on the car. So I guess that's going to do it for the video today, guys. So hopefully it was helpful if anybody's out there changing theirs out or thinking about doing one. They're easy enough to do, and that's a great upgrade to the 6S cars for sure. But that's going to do it for the video today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. So until next time, y'all be safe. Be careful out there. Peace out, everybody.